Don't engage alone. We do this together.
Yeah!
We got it! We got it!
New 52 booklet.
Somebody clip this.
Welcome to Under Two Capes, the only show that knows that Lois Lane is Lois Lame. I'm Jared. I'm here with Talati and Nick. What's up, gentlemen?
The smugness is strong with you, brother.
Dude, this has been a week. This has been a freaking week. So before anyone comments below, yes, I did see that clip from Crisis. And by the way, it's kind of funny. The day that clip got leaked, previous to me even seeing it, or Britt not even seeing it, Britt was complaining about these entitled Clovis fans. So you know what I said? The day. Okay, so what happened is that before this, Taladia, the day that happened, I said, don't worry, we'll get her a moment. And then what does Taladia text me an hour later? Oh, yeah, it's Super Wonder. And I'm like, what?
Turns out you only had to wait an hour for your moment.
Yes, exactly. I told Britt, I am clairvoyant. I manifested this. But it was so good. So we're going to talk about that on CLD and the member stream. But anyway, so we're talking about today. So with the upcoming release of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which I still have to pre-order, I'm just waiting for budgetary reasons, but I am going to pre-order because I want Batman Deadshot so I can say my Batman uses guns. But so we're going to, because while there have been some successes in terms of superhero gaming, and we're going to talk about that, particularly what those games did right, we're going to focus primarily on some of the flops of superhero, not really flops, but games that haven't performed well in terms of like superhero content. So that's like the Avengers, Gotham Knights. I'm not going to call Suicide Squad a failure yet because it hasn't come out yet. Because from what I've heard, a lot of people really like it. So I'm going to save judgment till afterwards. If it's a terrible game, I am going to unleash holy hell on this.
Yeah, a lot of people like the Avengers too. Remember?
No, actually, a lot of people are like, it's not that good.
Well, I can pay 500 people to say they like something. So.
Yeah, but Nick, the point is we're not going to touch Suicide Squad. So
that's fair.
Let's start with honestly, let's start with Avengers because that was like the first game that I really saw that like complete to the point. It crashed and burned so hard they delisted it from marketplaces. So
I did grab it before they would delist it.
Yeah, so the first problem with the game, because if it were just a problem with the like monetization and the live service elements, that would be one thing. The problem with the story is that in an Avengers game, it's a Ms. Marvel game. And I'm sorry, I love the show. The character is not the character that can carry a game, particularly one called The Avengers. Case in point, when I play the game now, Ms. Marvel's like at level 9 and my Avengers are at level 50. Why am I going to play as Ms. Marvel?
See, the biggest problem is you could have made it work with just like with the story you had. The problem is the microtransactions and the grindy nature, because literally halfway through the game just stops to become a live service game.
Yeah, that is the really annoying part of it. Taladia, you're the resident like expert on superhero gaming. Yeah. What do you think? Why do you think the Avengers game didn't do well?
Well, there's several factors. First reason, of course, is the developers did not back the game at all. Mm-hmm. Like as soon as they said there was no microtransaction in the game, there was microtransaction. They said that we're not going to put XP boosters in the game, and that it's earnable. They made people pay for it.
They made you pay for skins too, which was sad because it had a lot of cool MCU skins.
Yeah, you had to pay for skins, but the cosmetics was fine. But I mean, actual XP boosters. So basically, they were like
Pay to win.
content creators were like because people who played the game actually said this as well, was like, they had a program or whatnot, and the developers told the creators were like, look, we're gonna put boost XP in the game, and you will not have to earn it. Not you will have to pay for it. It's all earnable. But what did they do? To do a 180 and make you guys pay for it. So it's kind of like they were greedy. They were greedy for money, and it flopped hard. And that's not the only thing that suffered. The game suffered from content.
Mm-hmm.
Content that they were supposed to be in the game, that never happened.
Mm-hmm.
It took them about 6 months before we got the next character. Prime example, Black Panther. Took them a long time before we got a War for Wakanda DLC. And Spider-Man, they said, Spider-Man's gonna have a big thing for PlayStation exclusive. What it was just you just get the character and you just get like this audio thing. You don't even get a proper full-on story with him.
Which that's stupid. There's like they did kind of something like that with the Winter Soldier, where it's like you get a cool comic like cutscene, which that's cool. But I'm like, as soon as I get the character, I'm like, that's it.
Yeah, that's what like really. And what's also another stinger for the game was the fact that I bought it at half price, right? Which I thought was a good deal. I said, look, I'm not gonna pay the full price for the game. But people who bought it day one, I felt bad for them because they were lied to from day one, and the content they were promised never delivered, and then it was just like promises after promises that didn't deliver. And as soon as the game like flopped really badly, they decided to stop doing any more stuff for the game, made everything free, and basically said, look, we're not going to do anything about the game. That's it. And then the Embracer group literally said, we're going to close down the studio and stop the game, what's it called, support for the game and stuff like that. And I'm just like, okay, well, it was in, I think, $200 million in debt or something. And that's purely because the fact is the developers didn't care. Brian Wagner, that's one developer that I can call out right now, didn't care about anybody in the community whatsoever. So
also, it's kind of important to note that this game was developed by Crystal Dynamics while they were under Square Enix. So Square Enix also does deserve a lot of the blame. Like Square Enix never really gave this game the support they should have, because Square Enix, when it comes to, never really treated its Western studios very well.
Yeah, agreed. And that's why like Square Enix decided to shut down the Western side of studios. Like that's why we haven't seen any more Tomb Raider games as of late.
Well, it's not so much that they decided to shut it down. They sold it all to an Embracer Group, like Crystal Dynamics. Like Embracer Group owns the Tomb Raider IP now.
The other thing, the other issue I think Avengers ran into, and this is even before the game released, it was when the first trailer released, and everyone's like, "Who the hell are those people?" Because for partly rightly, I mean, I can't blame the audience for thinking that the Avengers in the game were going to look like the movie counterparts, because
I do.
Well, what I mean by that is, I mean, to a degree, I agree with Nick, because it's like, this is not connected to the MCU. If it were connected to the MCU, that'd be one thing, but it's not. And yeah, I mean, so Nick, clarify.
Okay, so the controversy that Jared's talking about is the Avengers actors. They did not look like Iron Man did not, like Tony Stark did not look like Robert Downey Jr. Black Widow did not look Scarlett Johansson. They did not look like their MCU counterparts, and they were voiced by talent to be like, I think Nolan North as Tony Stark is good casting.
Laura Bailey is Black Widow, man. You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah,
good casting. The problem is they're expecting them to look like their MCU counterparts, which I'm going to be honest, I find that whole notion rather silly. To have them have their likenesses would be very expensive, especially for a game like I think the game probably cost like $300 million to make. If they had to get the likenesses, it probably would have cost like $400 or $500 million. You know. There was like Yeah, go
the
ahead.
other thing is what people are forgetting. The MCU is not the only version of these characters that has ever existed. These characters have existed in their current form since the 1960s. I'm pretty sure they didn't all look like Robert Downey Jr. and Steve and Chris Evans and all that.
I mean, some even before that, because Captain America is literally older than U.S. U.S. involvement in World War II.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I'll say this, right? The Avengers game was a cash grab just because of just the Avengers IP.
That's
the only reason why the Avengers name sold so much was because of the IP. It was nothing to do with you just get to play as heroes, right? That was the cool thing about it, and it was nothing about is it good? Yes, it did get compared to the MCU, but they had talented actors, but there was problems on the game itself, behind the scenes stuff. For example, Nolan North and Troy Baker don't like each other anymore.
Really?
And that was they went their separate ways in terms of collabing and stuff like that because of drama, really. That happens. That was some drama or something that I won't get into, but it was that bad that it got to the point where if you're going to do a game and you're having these big actors, talented voice actors come in, you got to make sure they're all on the equal same page. That's the first rule.
Yeah.
And the second thing is, you don't just say, I'm going to bring in a voice actor that's really talented, and then you bring in somebody else that is also talented, but they don't see eye to eye. You don't do that, because if you have that clash behind the scenes, then it could be a big disaster for the video game.
Yeah, it's gonna hurt the performance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I think the issue Avengers ran into, it's really just studio mismanagement, because when you think about it, an Avengers game should have been a layup. That should have been like guaranteed top sell because of the Avengers name. And I think if they hadn't made it a live service game, and that's going to be a common theme throughout this discussion, if they hadn't made a live service game, I think it would have done a little better and just populated it with content and then released occasional DLCs like games used to be, like the Arkham games, honestly.
I mean, you got to realize this game came out in a post-Battlefront 2 world.
Yeah, so they had to see that's not a good idea.
Because Battlefront 2 is I view as kind of like the watershed moment when people realize, oh wait, all these live service microtransactions, they kind of suck.
This came out around about the same, around about a year or two after the Division of Destiny 2 came out.
Yeah.
So, and people
and the Division 2 had its own problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, but people weren't into live service anymore. But it's like, as soon as Avengers dropped, they dropped the ball massively as soon as that game, was released. And they didn't really weren't interacting with the community. They were kind of being, negative than positive with the community. And
which that's always what you want to be. You want to be negative towards your player base. That's a good idea.
I mean, if you don't like the video game,
don't
buy it.
Yeah. If you don't like my studio politics, don't buy my game.
It's straight up. It's sad to see, because like you work 4 or 5 plus years on a game, and then you're like, okay, but I'm not going to support it as soon as it releases. It's like,
particularly when you take a game model that requires support.
Yeah, a game.
That's kind of the point of a live. Live is in the name service.
Yeah, and the fact that this game was live service, this game was going to have so much content. Not only Black Panther, Winter Soldier,
War Machine, Captain Marvel, I think was rumored. The Winter Soldier did come out, so I was happy about that because I love me some, Scarlet Witch. Vision, I think, was another one.
Captain Marvel was.
I thought they were pretty much going to do for that.
They did tease Captain Marvel because
heavily in Kamala's room. There's like a poster, and then they talk about her when she's like meeting the Avengers. But I felt like what they were going to do is do that whole little thing where every time there's a movie coming out or a show, they're going to release a character for that movie. They did that kind of in terms of skins, though.
Yes,
Yeah, they did that with Star Wars. Like Battlefront 2 got a lot of like movie themed content around that time. Yeah,
I will say though, the movie skins actually looked really cool, except for like there's one of the Thor ones. Oh yeah, the Thor ones that deal with Infinity War, because he still has the Mjolnir hammer. They don't give him a Stormbreaker hammer.
Yeah.
That's like I'm like, is that really that hard to do?
No, it isn't. It isn't hard to switch hammers around, and it's like it was just laziness, lazy coding. Really, they weren't really, doing the coding side of it, and honestly, that's why the game suffered badly. Even when it came down to like,
the only if I were to play devil's advocate, so Mjolnir is a small hammer, while Stormbreaker is like a rather large axe, and if I were to play devil's advocate, and this is kind of more a layman's view of game development, because the axe is a lot larger, it probably requires a different set of animations, and also there might be like some flipping issues, some collision issues.
Okay.
Just because I'm not saying this is the case, I'm just speculating.
But the problem is, I wouldn't have put those skins that have Stormbreaker in the game then, because it kind of looks stupid to have Thor in like in Infinity War and Endgame, and he has the classic hammer.
Agreed.
So I get that. If they said that and they didn't give the skins, and people asked and they said, well, we couldn't get the Stormbreaker to work, I would have respected them even more, because it's like, okay, at least they're trying to be a little detail oriented, but no, they just half-assed it. So it's like, it's really, really, really like annoying. And ultimately it was sad, because I enjoy playing I still enjoy playing Avengers. The story, when it's not Ms. Marvel, is actually pretty cool. It's just, again, they base an entire game around a character that can't sell her own comic. It's like the same thing with the show. While the show was good, it had like one of the lowest viewerships in the MCU, because it's based on a character that can't support her own IP. I'm like, we've seen many examples of this.
They banked on something, and if it backfired on them, they banked on just one thing, which was the IP.
Mm-hmm. So ultimately, it's a tragic tale, and I do like how they made all the skins free. So now I have the entire Endgame Avengers team on my roster. So there is that, and I get to have the Winter Soldier hang out with Romanoff. That's my Marvel Super Wonder, in case you're wondering. So,
so you ship Winter Widow?
Yes, I do. So, moving on to, let's go to a little bit of a DC side, and I can't think of a better transition. So, Gotham Knights, and by the way, this game will always be special, because this is how I met Taladia when Nick and I were streaming. We won't even talk about Gotham Knights, just you popped in the chat and goes, hey, I have info for Gotham Knights. And then I asked Nick, do you want to have him on? And he's like, okay. But see, Gotham Knights is another example. I enjoy playing the game. There are still some problems with it. A few of them were not fairly placed on the game. Like, it doesn't look like Arkham. It's not being made by the Arkham people, first off. And it's on a different engine, so of course it's not going to look like Arkham. But Taladi, I'll start with you. What do you think Gotham Knights went wrong?
So, firstly, Gotham Knights was developed by former Ubisoft developers, which worked on the game. And I think the reason why that went wrong, because they took out live service elements into the game. It was supposed to be live service. They took that out, and it was missing a lot of aspects for the game, which suffered a lot. And even after the game released, it only had 2 post DLC content, and that was it. There was no other content, and there was loads of I found loads of like assets and concept art that was supposed to be in the game, like Catwoman, Solomon Grundy, the Architect, to name a few things that was supposed to be in the game, but they didn't make it. Also, we were going to get a day and nighttime cycle. That didn't happen.
That would have been kind of fun, though.
A boom tube was supposed to be a thing too. Like boom tubes, because they were going to be it was supposed to progress into the second game or whatever it was. It was Cyborg was gonna have a Pacific Cyborg mission, but that didn't happen either. So, and there was a Robin that was also designed. It looked like Damian Wayne was going to be a Robin instead of Tim Drake.
Yeah, I thought when the trailer played, when I first saw the Gotham Knights trailer, I was like, oh, it's Damian Wayne, and I'm like, it's Tim.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, that's a little bit weird. And the thing is, like, they could have had room. Like, they could have had just Tim be Red Robin.
There was loads of opportunities for them to add more characters.
Or just have Tim Drake just be Drake. To quote,
he
must not be named.
Please no.
They could have what they could have done is they could have added Damian into the fold, really, and he could have taken the mantle of Robin while Jason, Tim, and Dick train him, so to say, to become the next Robin. And then further along, he'll become that could have set up a Batman game in the future, but they never did. So, and what made things worse was behind the scenes stuff, like the developers, higher ups leaving the studio, and them not even. Like, there was very good communication. Don't get me wrong. I was one.
There was. I was very impressed.
I was very impressed to see the developers interact with us, and communication was very key point. They answered one of my questions, which was great to see. And furthermore, like I still have some of the former developers still follow me on Twitter, which I'm super appreciative for.
Nice.
So and it's like, what they should have done, they shouldn't have done what the Arkham Knight ending was. They should have changed that entirely.
Yeah, because that really confused me, because I'm like, is that in the Arkham verse? And that's not being developed by Rocksteady, so obviously not. But I was like, wait, it just really confuses me, particularly when you then have Suicide Squad kill the Justice League announced like the same day, and that follows the Arkham universe. So you're like, is this a prequel to Suicide Squad? It's not. Don't worry about it. But still, I'm like,
I mean that we can definitely chalk that up as definitely as one of the game's missteps, because they didn't go right out and say it. It's a continuation of Arkhamverse, but they clearly wanted you to think that. Calling it Gotham Knights, it sounds like it's a continuation of Arkham Knights. Like they very. I feel like and it's like the game kind of looks very Arkham-esque. Batgirl basically plays like Arkham Batman. It's like they didn't go around and say it, but they clearly wanted you to think that, at least in my opinion.
In my opinion, here's the thing: they made it RPG, and you could tell it was an RPG, but the reason is it was supposed to come out in 2021. They delayed it by a full year to come out in 2022.
That's always a good sign.
Doesn't that see? This is why, and I've gotten some flack from my fellow comics leaguers. We're like, oh, where have I heard that before? A game is supposed to come out. It's supposed to have heavy microtransactions. People complain, and then they delay it for a year to rip up all the microtransactions. It's almost like history is repeating itself.
Well, also remember, Halo was delayed a full year, and I don't think I have to say anything on that.
But Jared, the thing is, if the live service elements was added into the game for Gotham Knights, I think it would have saved the game, and it would have made get more extra people to play the game, and I think it would have had more content going forward.
I disagree.
I agree with Nick. I strongly disagree on that, because at this point, if you put like, and Nick, you can back me up on this, if you put like live service, the words live service on anything, that's an automatic red flag and do not purchase in a lot of people's minds.
Yeah, like I feel like Gotham Knights would have been another Avengers situation. Like, yeah, sure, it would have made more money, but it would have died a very. It basically, instead of it dying a quick death, it would have been more of a slow product like Avengers.
But the thing is, right? Like, it's an RPG game. It was never supposed to be an Arkham game, and that's why people really it really hacked off the Arkham fan base because
Yeah.
it was like, oh, it's not an Arkham game because they went into the game expecting it to be Arkham. Now, if you go into the game expecting everything to be Arkham,
That's
but
not. It even expected the visuals to be Arkham, but
yeah,
but that's where we get back to the story issue of them saying, "Oh yeah, Batman's dead." What?
And like, and that's
Particularly
the other problem.
wait, it gets worse, Nick. They kill Batman practically the same way they did in Arkham Knight with his house collapsing. So I'm like, what?
not once
See-
but twice we kill him.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is the problem I have, where it's like they weren't making an Arkham game, but they very clearly wanted you to think it was an Arkham game. And it's
Now-
like, and so
Yeah.
they advertised it and made people think it was like an Arkham style game, and people walked into it expecting an Arkham game. You know,
Now,
so that's
here's the thing. They could have salvaged the story if they didn't
Mhm.
kill Batman the second time. If, when you beat the game, you get to play as Batman. That
That
would have
would've-
been because you give people something they really want, which is to play as Batman. You give that as a completion goal. And then you have, like, as DLC that comes out later, a unique story of Batman reacting to coming back from the dead. Maybe he goes through the whole Jason Todd thing where he's not in control of himself because they used the Lazarus pit.
Or maybe they formed the Justice League through this route. Just
Well, they
saying.
already the Justice League already exists though in this universe at this point.
No, True, but I
Because
mean,
Tim Drake,
wait, I have an
Tim
idea.
Drake's- Wait, because Tim Drake's traversal is the Justice League teleporters. What's your idea, Nick?
So here's my idea. So basically you go through it, and as a 100% completion bonus, you get like a sort of after credit style kind of scene where it shows that Batman is not actually dead. And
That too. That would 100% work. It's the idea of killing him, bringing him back, and then kill. Because here's the thing: if you're a Batman fan and then you see the Al Ghul show up, and then early in the game, Nick, they start talking about Lazarus pits, you automatically can tell the plot. Okay, we're gonna go to the Lazarus pit. Batman's gonna be back to life. You're gonna fight him, and then he's gonna sacrifice himself to take out the Lazarus pit, and that's literally what happens in the game.
yeah,
It's
that's
Go ahead.
just, to quote Deadpool, that's just bad writing.
That's just bad writing.
plus,
But yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say as well. Like another thing to add is the fact that Gotham Knights. If I was in their shoes right now, the developers work on a full-blown Superman game at this point. Forget doing a Batman game. Don't touch the Batman IP because if you touch the Batman IP now, people are just gonna be mad at you at it because the fact that they will say to you, "Why don't you make a Batman game from the get-go?"
Mhm.
Right?
That's
They
a
will-
good.
they-
That's a good point.
Because they will tell you
Actually,
things.
I think they should make a Green Arrow game.
No, but here's the problem with that, Nick. That's too close to Batman. I
Yeah.
think what Taladi is saying is I pick something that's like at the other end away from Batman so that they can like take a break from Batman. Because if they do Green Arrow, people are gonna have that same thing. Why don't you make a Green Arrow game? Because the thing about it, go from like grounded to like balls to the walls, crazy Superman fighting Doomsday,
Well-
or something like that.
In that case, make a Green Lantern game.
That too, you could do that. That would work. And I want a Green Lantern game. Thank you.
But it's like I said, like you
Mhm.
know, with Warner Brothers right now as an in-house studio, it's very difficult to see what they're going to do next because originally it was a Damian Wayne Batman game before Gotham Knights. Then they changed it to make Gotham Knights. Now
Yeah,
it's
because
like
it was going to be Arkham Beyond, right? It was going to be
Yeah.
essentially Batman Beyond, but Arkham. And
yeah,
for sabotaging that, I give you this.
Yeah, second Warner Brothers.
that was Warner Brothers. That was Warner Brothers saying no, we don't want you to make it, and even fans' reception, the fans' reaction to the Damian Wayne Batman game, that was another thing too. Until concept art leaked out and asset and stuff like that started to pop online, then people wanted it. You see, now I'll be honest with you. If I was in Warner Brothers Games Montreal shoes right now, I'd focus on Superman, Flash, or Justice League. Right? Focus on one of those three
Don't do
IPs.
Justice League, because here's why. Gotham Knights was a co-op game. Stick with a single player,
Yeah.
one story. So that way build to it. I'm not saying don't do it at all. Build to it. Build back some trust, because right now they took a big reputational hit from this.
They did. They took a massive reputational hit because right now
Yeah.
there's a lot of fans are very skeptical with Warner Brothers games right now with
Well,
their
the other
DC.
thing-
Especially with Warner Brothers. You know, you can say what you want about like waiting to see what happens, but Warner Brothers is making the exact same mistakes they made with Gotham Knights. And
the other thing is, remember, WB Games Montreal is known also for making what some people see as the worst Arkham game.
No, that's wrong.
I'm with Talani on this one because
wait.
Arkham Origins has its fans.
Mhm.
There is a lot of Arkham Origins defenders out there.
I'm included in them, but I'm just saying, have stuff where a portion of a very vocal portion of the Arkham fan base, like, well, yeah, we like to pretend that game doesn't exist.
Yeah, I mean, Warner Brothers definitely loves to play.
That's why I say do not touch the Batman IP, because in the eyes of some people, you failed twice. Do not touch that.
Well, the thing is, I wouldn't consider Arkham Origins a failure. Like, it's not a bad game per se. It's just not as good as the Arkham games. It's like having basically, even though Arkham Origins as the worst Arkham game is still better than like the best game from many other franchises.
Well, yeah, but the issue I have with Arkham Origins is that it's not necessarily like it's not like the other games. It's just because the story's a little predictable and they contradict the lore a lot.
I mean, that's fair. I'm just like
but from a gameplay perspective, I like it. I still play it. I also like I can play as a Black Lantern Batman. So there you go. But
go
ahead.
The thing is, right? WB Games Montreal, who made Arkham Origins, it was the team that made that game. They just straight up had the IP coding from Rocksteady. They were given the coding and everything from Rocksteady, and it was straight up copy and paste. All they did was change a few tweaks, a few here and there, and that was it. And that's why they made Arkham Origins. Now their DLC was great. The Cold Heart DLC.
That was good.
That was a good DLC. Nobody can disagree with that. But it's like I said, like after the fact that Warner Brothers sees both Arkham Origins and Gotham Knights not as a user review and critically reviewed well, I think they should just stay away from that IP and focus on Superman, focus on Flash, focus on Green Lantern, and do single player experiences, story driven game. And don't do this like RPG type of thing, because if you do this RPG type of games and looter shooter or looter based RPG type of games, I should say.
Yeah. By the way, real quick, I looked up the sales of all the Arkham games. So Knight and Origin sold about the same at 7 million copies. Asylum was 9.5 million, and SETI sold 12.5 million. So it's one of the lowest selling Arkham games.
Yeah, it's one of the lowest selling Arkham games, but still, it's
a fun game. Don't get me wrong. I like it.
Yeah, but the thing is, Warner Brothers don't see it like that.
Yeah, exactly.
The only thing they'll see is the numbers. Like if it sells, like for example, Gotham Knights met sales expectations, but it did not meet reviews expectations. That's where the problem lies. That's why Warner Brothers have probably told them, now you guys have to come up with something good, something better. It cannot be a team-based game. It has to be a single-player game, and you have to blow the fans' minds off. You have to meet our expectations too. Now, I wonder, there's a big question mark on this. I wonder if this is going to be a DCU game for WB Montreal's second game. That's a big question mark.
Oh, yeah. I mean, see, here's the thing, and we talked about this briefly on I think last week's stream that ended up having to delete it because it went off the rails real quick, was I think they're going to do mobile games for the DCU stuff, because that's the only way that you could conceivably avoid a lot of the pitfalls that come with game development. Because here's the thing. People on that panel were like, well, James Gunn probably knows all that because he was involved in games and stuff. I'm like, no, I don't think James Gunn is as plugged into the gaming space as people think he is.
I think my biggest thing.
Yeah, go ahead,
Go on.
Nick.
My biggest thing is like, okay, you want to have the games connected. I don't think that's a good idea, but whatever. Why the heck would you suddenly make Arkham canon? Like,
I
why
don't
would
think he
you
made
just
it
like?
canon.
He said that Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League is canon to his stuff.
He did?
I thought that's what the tweet said.
No. What that tweet said was there's going to be other Arkham games after Suicide Squad.
So basically, they're going to change the Arkhamverse, and it's going to be part of his DCU.
No, he never said part of his DCU. He never said that.
He never said that. He said that this isn't the last. This wouldn't be the last.
That's the only thing he said, Nick. He never tied.
But he deleted that on Threads and changed
Which
it.
that's very telling. That is very telling.
And it makes me think that what James Gunn is probably James Gunn should have said is something completely different to what he actually said.
Like I'm not in charge of that.
Yeah.
I mean, this has.
Well, he kind of is because. Well, see, here's the thing. He's the head of DC Studios, so I'm not sure how much of the DC responsibility is under him.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like the way he was implying, like that the games are tying to DCU. Like people were saying, like, it's like this is what I don't like about like modern journalism. They take like one small nugget of information and they blow it way out of proportion. Like, oh, the DCU games are gonna tie into his vision. Say, oh, James Gunn is making DC games now. James Gunn is personally at Rocksteady. He's writing the scripts. He's personally working there every day now. Like I'm sorry.
Because that brings clicks, Nick. We know this. It's just clicks.
Yeah, we know.
I mean, I get it. I still don't like it.
I hate it. It's stupid.
But it's the fact that what James Gunn has said, he needs to clarify it even further, and he hasn't.
James Gunn's. Can we just both agree? Warner Brothers needs to like take his phone, put it into a safe, and say, "All right, James, you'll get it when you actually put some. You can have your phone back when you actually put some movies out."
Go stay in when you think about what you've done, because so far every time you open your thing, you're making the situation worse. But anyway, I don't want to turn this into a rant about James Gunn. But go ahead, Flavia.
But it's like I said, when it comes back to WB games, it's like the higher ups don't know what they're doing. The higher ups don't know what they're saying, and this is why DC games currently is suffering the lack of games. That's the problem. There's lack of DC games right now, where before.
I mean, there's a lack of Marvel games too, but we haven't really gotten into that portion yet.
Which we will. As a matter of fact, let's do that right now. We've talked about 2 DC games that have failed. Let's talk about 2 DC games that have actually done pretty well, and that's the Sony Spider-Man games.
Wait, you mean 2 Marvel games?
Well, yeah, two. I'm sorry.
we talked about a Marvel game that failed and a DC game that failed.
Oh yeah,
let's talk about some games that have succeeded.
Yeah, like Spider-Man. And here's an interesting thing: not live service. Isn't that interesting? No. It's almost like there's a formula. It's almost like Spider-Man is the blueprint.
No, I wouldn't say that. I would not say that because they actually took inspirations from the Batman Arkham games.
I know. I'm making a joke. I'm making a joke about that. I'm talking in terms of the live service cutting. I'm talking in terms of modern games cutting out live service. Because it's pretty much because when you think about it, the Spider-Man games are basically Marvel's Arkham series.
Yeah.
I mean, yes.
Which fantastic because those games are freaking amazing. And I think the thing about it. The first reason why I think these games do well is that you can tell these guys are really, really, really Spider-Man fans because the sheer amount of like suits and references they put in this game shows that they at least have read Spider-Man comics in the past.
Not just Spider-Man comics, but other comics. Like,
yeah.
My favorite thing was like going around New York collecting items and getting some Easter eggs. Like, it's like, oh, you can get a Nelson and Murdoch card.
Yeah, or like the Ghostbusters firehouse is in the game.
Oh, yeah. Well, to be fair, that's actually a real location in New York City. Mm-hmm. But, like, the fact that, like,
And we did this on my Spider-Man stream, where like I went around to the back, and there's a spray painted ghost.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
The developers be like, "We know why you're here."
Yeah,
And-
exactly. Yeah, go ahead.
And the fact that with the Marvel Spider-Man games, right, there's so much you could do in the game that it's not boring.
Like you could actually hang out with the best character in the game, Screwball.
Get him out. Get him out.
Frick off!
Get out. Get out.
I love my favorite moment from that stream was when Nick was debating on what thing we should do. And I see people in the chat going, do the Screwball mission, do the Screwball missions. Nick's like, I don't want to.
And we made
I
you.
put it to a vote, and you all betrayed me.
It's so much fun.
Speaking of which, I need to get back and finish that game sometime.
Yeah. The other thing that's actually really cool is that they did, I think Spider-Man 2 did the whole Miles thing actually really well. Because what's interesting about that game, if you notice, when you're playing as Miles, you get different types of side quests. It's more of like helping out the community, as opposed to like dealing with like the world is ending stuff. That's for Peter. And then Miles is essentially more of the neighborhood Spider-Man.
Also, Spider-Cat.
Oh, yes. Except he arguably got the worst suit ever. That last suit for Miles is a travesty, which apparently I think it was a collaboration with, I think it was like a shoe company.
Adidas.
It looks terrible.
So
Yeah.
But go ahead, Talia.
So I just think like the differences with Marvel Spider-Man 2 with compared to the first one is that the second one, obviously there was a lot of like abilities you could change, stuff like that, but the gadgets in the first game made the game a little bit more entertaining.
Mhm.
And the second game had a lot of suits, too many suits, so too many.
There's no such thing as too many suits. There's no such thing as too many suits.
Yes, there
Let's
is.
be honest.
Yes.
Well,
No,
the thing
there's not. There's not.
A rock
The
paper
thing
scissors.
that as a person who's only played the first game, what I really enjoyed about the first game is, so yes, the combat for Spider-Man is very Arkham inspired, but there's kind of a key difference in how they play out. The Arkham combat is very rhythm based. It's almost a rhythm game to a degree where it's like,
So you're telling me we're part of the Bat Band in the Arkham games?
possibly, but like with the Spider-Man games, it's more of a game of keep away. Like the gadgets are more of it's more about crowd control.
Mm-hmm.
Because the game likes to throw a lot of enemies at you and do different things. So you have to use at least this is the way that I interface the game. I don't know, Claudia might have a different experience. But it's more just use the gadgets to keep away a lot of the enemies. You can kind of focus on one or whatever. So it's kind of a bit more of a mental kind of you got to think through okay, I use this gadget here. Oh, there's an opportunity to web people it's you're more actively engaged versus the Batman stuff. It's like they throw the enemies at you. It's like the most you got to keep an eye of oh, he's about to hit me, so dodge. He's got
guns.
Guns.
I will say, as someone that has played through Arkham Knight on the hardest difficulty, you know what they do to make it really difficult? They take off the indicator that pops up on someone's head. They're going to attack you, so you really have to learn the animations of the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Does your experience with Spider-Man match mine?
To an extent.
All right, what's been your experience with Spider-Man? I'd like to hear your perspective.
So my experience with Spider-Man has always been fun, especially. Now, don't get me wrong. Yes, I did a pancake moment.
I still remember that. I still have to get that clip.
Yeah,
but what I was saying was how you view the combat. I refer to the combat as crowd control. Do you see that in the same way?
I would say similar to some degree, but it also feels as if when you do the combat, it feels like Arkham-esque.
Like I was saying, they share the same base, but both of them are very Arkham inspired. We agree on that.
Yeah.
But I was just saying
It's
their
because
approaches to it.
the other thing is like with the Spider-Man combat, to go back to what you said about crowd control, a lot of the moves are more crowd control because it's like there's a move where Spider-Man can like spin a web around and knock people back. So it's a little more like high energy because Spider-Man is naturally I'm going to jump around and attack people as opposed to Batman, who's more like in the trenches. I'm going to punch your face in.
Jump around.
Jump around. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and also going to Spider-Man 2, while I think it's a missed opportunity for them to not have Shocker, so you can't do the Shocker thing.
Shocker!
Yeah, while I think they handled the black suit stuff really well, particularly starting with like Harry having the being Agent Venom, and then you get to play as Venom when he first shows up. So I'm like, yes. And then all the symbiotes have the spiral from Null. And they implied that they did the whole alien thing. So maybe Null could be a villain in a future game. I don't think the next one should be I think we all think the next one's gonna be Superior Spider-Man, but still.
I think it's gonna be Superior Spider-Man Goblin.
A form of Superior Spider-Man. I don't think they'll switch bodies, but I think Ock will like in some form have a Superior Spider-Man suit.
Yeah, I think.
Here's what they could do.
I think since they're sidelining Peter, I think Superior Spider-Man might be a way to go.
Or here's what they could do. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna hate me for this. So what they could do. All right, have Octavius clone Peter.
No.
Name him Ben Riley.
Frick off!
And then raise Ben Riley to be a more evil version of Spider-Man.
Raise him like a son. You mean this whole story is going to take place over 15, 18 years?
No, just accelerated growth, like the clones of Star Wars.
That is the stupidest idea.
Yeah, I know, and I appreciate. By the way, I love how as soon as I said he clones Peter, you were like, nope. You knew exactly. I told you were gonna hate me for that.
See, this idea makes the line somehow Palpatine returned be Shakespeare by comparison.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like it's written by Zack Snyder at that point, but yeah. So, drop in the comments. By the way, what do you guys think of the discussion? How you would do? Actually, you know what? Let's do it real quick before we wrap up. I'm gonna start with Nick. How would you do Superior Spider-Man?
Oh, well, probably do like some sort of consciousness transfer. See, the problem with doing Superior Spider-Man is they've kind of done like there's something wrong with Pete. Oh, Pete's evil. Now we need to fight him storyline, kind of with Venom. You know, they kind of risk. Even though it's different, it's still like, oh, something's wrong with Peter. Even if you're not playing as him, it's still somewhat of a similar storyline. But, like, I don't know. Plus, like, with him being married to MJ, I feel like MJ would kind of notice. Plus, like, the whole, like, Doc Ock in Peter's body, like, kissing and sleeping with MJ would be so wrong. And just, like, you want Doc to be like at least some.
Yeah, second Warner Brothers.
Wrong clip. I meant to play this one. Hang on. I meant to play this one.
He fills out his clothes like lentils fill out a sandwich bag.
And Nick, in response to Doc Ock sleeping with MJ. Wasn't that a classic comic where Peter walks in on Doc Ock and Aunt May?
Excuse me, I need to go vomit.
Yeah, that's an actual Spider-Man comic. And this is coming from the guy, by the way, that read Sin's Past.
Why did you have to remind me of that?
Yeah, here's Nick. You ready?
Why did you say that, Nick?
Yeah.
That's Nick right there. But yeah, so Taladia, how would you do Superior Spider-Man? Would you do the cloning or the consciousness transfer? What would you do? And I will say we can call Spider-Man 3 Clone Saga if we do the cloning.
No
cloning.
I love how with Spider-Man, all you have to do is say the word clone and everyone's like, nope, I'm out.
Like, I have no problem with Ben Riley as a character, but like, oh my god, Clone Saga, no.
But so Taladia, how would you do Superior?
Instead of cloning, I would do the whole, switching of bodies.
Okay, they could do that. I mean, my one problem with it is that it seems a little too like out there for the universe that they're establishing, that all of a sudden consciousness transfer.
I mean, this is a universe where there's an alien goo that gives you superpowers.
Well, yeah, there is that. But the other thing, and Nick, you brought this up. Here's why I don't think they'll do that. They did the whole edgy Peter already with black suit. So it wouldn't work that well to make that the next game. That's why I'm saying clones. Because what they could do, what they could even do is they could make it so he put the clones, he started the cloning process like earlier, so Peter didn't even know, and then Ben emerges from the tube. I love this. And then Gwen Stacy shows up. I'm only kidding.
No, episode is over. The episode is over.
Gwen Stacy shows up in Norman Osborn's tower. I'm only kidding. And then the achievement for watching that cutscene is called Sid's Past.
Does Gwen even exist in the Insomniac verse?
I don't think they've mentioned her, but still, watch, they retcon it. So, like, no, watch, they make it so the sleeping with Norman is what made Peter break up with her. I can't see Nick's face right now, but I'm sure he's like raging right now, which is so good because he had to read the story. But anyway, so I think that's a good place to leave it. We had a really good discussion about games. In terms of Comics League content, this coming movie night is going to be The Batman by Matt Reeves. I'm really excited for that because I love that movie. Comics League Dark, we're going to be talking a little bit more about because Taladia played the alpha for Suicide Squad, and they just dropped the NDA so we could talk about it. So we're going to talk about that on the stream. And in terms of in terms of, but by the time this is uploaded, we will have already done the members only stream, which be sure to show up for that because I will be talking the crap out of that Super Wonder scene from Crisis. And in terms of Super Wonder Legacy, Britt and I are going to be tearing Injustice apart and talking about that 40-second scene from Crisis. What? So Taladia is angry at me all of a sudden.
You don't need to diss off Injustice.
Yes, I do.
It's a good game.
No, the game is good. The comic story.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the game.
No. We're talking about particularly how this makes people think that if if Lois dies, Superman turns into an evil dictator. Yeah, it's not. It's done more damage to the Superman character. That could be a short. And by the way, be on the lookout for some fun content about that kiss from Crisis. I'm going to be milking that for a long time. Which, fun fact, so Britt and I did, so last week's episode of Super Wonder was about animation. We did this because Crisis was coming out, not knowing what was in Crisis. So anyway, it's the history of Super Wonder and animation. So what happens is, I upload it, and then like an hour or so later, that happens with Taladia and it leaks out. It got like a massive boost in views.
Your timing was, shall I
Impeccable.
say, perfect?
Yeah, exactly. We didn't know that was going to happen. So Britt and I look at each other like, we'll take it. So go check that out and be prepared to destroy Injustice. So I'll start with Nick. Where can we find you and what have you got coming out on your channel, dude?
All right. So on Friday, the Friday Night Frenzy returns for another week. We're talking about the stuff we're excited for 2024. You know, like Metroid Prime 4, Nintendo Switch, Jared Father,
Wheel of Time Season 2.
I'm done.
He's good. He left.
You raised
All
it.
right.
So Taladia, where can we find you and what have you got coming out on the channel?
You guys can follow me on Twitter at @TaladiaPlays_ and on my YouTube page at @TaladiaPlays. I will be doing my video for my impressions on Suicide Squad Killer Justice League Alpha and be discussing it to a very good extent of what I thought about the game, how did I feel about the traversal for the characters and so on and so forth. Obviously, I'll be talking about it on the member stream with Jared and them because I want to discuss it with them. But I also will be doing it as a solo video because I want to hear you guys in the feedback and whatnot. And if you guys got to play the game, you can always, reply to that into the comment section in the video because I'll be doing that. And then also there will be the New 52 Justice League next week. Myself and Jared will be covering issue 6. It's issue 6,
That's
right?
the conclusion of the first arc, so we'll be done with Justice League Origin.
Yeah, we'll be done with Justice League Origins, which is going to be interesting. So we can't wait to do a retrospect as well, talking about we'll be, once we've done that issue, we'll rank each issue top best to none best. So we'll be doing that. And then, I'm just looking forward to Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. That's all I can say.
That's going to be fun. I'm going to enjoy that. So, on that note, everyone, stay heroic, and we'll be sure to see you in the very next one. Remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lane.